My name's Christine, and today I'm going to show you how to make this gorgeous bralette out of a pair of leggings. This bralette is the perfect project to make if you have a pair of leggings that has holes in it. You can use any kind of leggings for your bralette, but remember, a pair that has more stretch to it will give you less support overall. If you have a pair of leggings and a pair of scissors, you're ready to get started. Start by cutting out the waistband of your leggings to make the band of your bra. So cut your waistband off your leggings about 1 to 2 inches below the seam. I cut this one about 1.5 inches below the waistband because I wanted a little extra detail. But I'm only going to leave myself 1 inch on this one because it has a pretty thick waistband already. Just make sure you keep it even all the way around. Next, you want to lay your leggings out flat and cut one of the legs off. Then cut along each side seam so you have 2 pieces left. And make sure you cut the seam out completely because we're going to refinish the edges ourselves. Each half of the leg piece will be one side of your bralette. Now that you have one leg cut into 2 pieces, you can determine how much you need to curve the end so it will lay flush with your band and not have any gaping on either side. And the amount of curve you need to add will depend on the stretch of your material as well as your cup size and shape. And if you're having trouble figuring out how much you need to shape it, you can always pin it to your waistband and try it on. Here's an example of a more flat or curved cup. Next, you want to finish all the raw edges. You don't have to do this, but it will help strengthen your bralette. I entirely hand sewed this one using a quilting or a blanket stitch around the edges, but you can also use a machine. I'm going to use my serger to finish this one. But you can always fold the edge over and use a zigzag stitch. Once you have all your raw edges finished, you're ready to sew the front of your straps to the band. For my first bralette, I sewed the cups to the elastic itself and left that little extra flap of fabric hanging down as decoration. But for the second one, I'm going to sew the cups to that flap and have the elastic pointing down. Find the center of the front of your waistband because that's where we want to align the cups. Measure both sides of your strap from what was the ankle of the legging up to what will be the cup of the bralette. You will notice one side should be longer than the other, and make sure you pin the longer side to the center of your band. And you will also need to stretch out that waistband a little bit when you're sewing on the cup because it's not going to sit and stretch well if you don't. It's better to have a little extra of that cup gathered into the band than to have too much band gathered into the cup. When I was hand sewing this first one, I found it was easier to wrap that band around my knees so I could stretch it out more easily. And even if you're using a machine, it will be easier to pin your bralette together using this method. And double check that you gathered both sides the same amount before you sew anything down. And with a sewing machine, you need to pull evenly on the front and back of the needle so that you don't break your needle while you're sewing it. I used a triple zigzag stitch and I will have plenty of room and shape in my cup. Once you're done sewing the cups on, you're ready to do the back. And I highly recommend you try it on at this point so you know how much support your bralette will give you and how comfortable it will be in the back. I'm petite, so I gave myself a little crisscross in the back so that the straps wouldn't be too long. But you might find it's more comfortable for you to angle the straps straight down like a traditional bra. I also sewed the edge of the strap really close to the edge of the cup, and that ends up being a little uncomfortable around my shoulder blades, so for this one I'm going to leave a little bit more room. It's not by any means too uncomfortable to wear, but I think it would be a little bit more comfortable if I left at least 1 inch between the cup and the back of the strap. And it's a good idea to stretch the back a little bit when you're sewing the strap on, but you don't have to do it as much as on the front. The back should look very similar to the front once it's sewn on. And that is how you make a bralette out of a pair of leggings. I do have to say the one I sewed with the machine was a lot quicker and easier to make than the one I did by hand, but I think the one I made by hand looks a little bit nicer in the final product. Even though it took me about 3 days to hand sew my first bralette, it only took me about 2 hours to make the second one with a machine, and that makes it the quickest project I've made on YouTube so far. So if you have a short attention span or you really just want to make a quick project, this is the best one to use for that. As a general rule of thumb, if I wouldn't wear it on YouTube, I'm not going to wear it out of the house either, and I definitely wouldn't wear these bralettes out of the house without something covering them up. And they also don't give a lot of support because there's no underwire, so I probably wouldn't wear them out of the house even with a shirt over the top. I made these more for lounging around the house and sleeping in. I know I will get a lot of use out of my bralettes because they're super comfy for me to wear to bed, but even if you don't get a lot of use out of yours, it's still a great project to make because you'll breathe new life into your old, worn out, or holey leggings. Let me know in the comments how your bralettes turned out. Leave a like on this video if you haven't already, and subscribe to my channel for more upcycled clothing projects. Thank you for watching, everyone. I will see you next week.